Okay, yeah, cool. Thanks for sharing that kind of your process and journey through the NFT marketplace with Ledger and kind of how that kind of developed and kind of morphed into other developments of the NFT space that Ledger got into. You did mention before about how Ledger, one of the aspects of the NFT marketplace, had an awesome design, with either with their marketplace or with the Genesis Pass. In general, hands down, compared to any other crypto team, Ledger has the best design, whether it be for their products, social media, marketing. Every time, almost, I would say one out of every like Ledger Instagram post, or one out of every five Instagram posts, I'm just like blown away, and I'm sharing it to Victor. I'm just like, yo, this is how you do marketing for crypto. So like, I guess
Awesome.
my question to you is like, who is running their design team? Is it in-house or is it like outsourced third party?
Yeah, I think it's a combination. Like I would say the reason why Ledger has its cool brand is like a combination of factors. I really think it's like them being a Paris-based company. Like I think it really rubs off, and I think they have great affiliation with a lot of brands, whether that's Web3 brands or non-Web3 brands. I think Ian Rogers does a great job of like, setting the vibe with Ledger. He's super connected with all of his various communities. And I think that like really comes from him. He's like ex LVMH, he's ex Apple. A lot of the team at Ledger worked at Beats before. So I think it's just really, it starts with the leadership, really. It's like leaders that really know what good taste looks like. And like Ledger is a consumer company at the end of the day, and that's hard to do. And a lot of crypto companies don't end up being consumer. Instead, they use like brands and artists to be consumer, and Ledger kind of does both. But yeah, it's really a combination of in-house design teams, and outsourcing to various agencies for help on specifics. Like, remember at NFT NYC, when Ledger had various spots on the billboard, including Ledger Market in Times Square. Like I remember, after a few too many drinks night before with a bunch of the Proof and the Moonbirds people, walking through Times Square at like 7 in the morning, on the way to a meeting and being like, wow, that's quite cool. So yeah, they do a great job with it. I agree.
Yeah, I mean, for just an example, the Ledger Stacks teaser video, all I needed was to watch
Mm.
that, and I'm just like, okay, I'll give you my money. Take my wallet. Take my money. I don't even need to know like anything about like the security aspect of the device or like what the functionality is. That teaser alone just sold me. It was amazing. Um, so actually, Victor wanted to chime in next.
Yeah, no. I actually have two different topics I want to touch on. Since we're on the topic of, Ledger being a consumer company, I just wanted to bring up an old topic that we did discuss on the first episode of 256. And that is the issue of the Ledger chain, right? So it's like this accessory that Ledger sells. Supposedly, it goes onto your Ledger device and you can wear it around your neck. And we spent about 50 minutes between Eric and myself debating like the pros and cons of, wearing your crypto wallet around your neck, blah blah blah, all that. So now that we have the opportunity to talk to a Ledger man, maybe you can give us your professional opinion on this matter. Do you like it, or are you not such a big fan of it?
Um, Yeah, so my personal take on it is I actually don't use my ledger really for a lot of my like day-to-day interactions. Like anyone that has a good wallet setup, you should have kind of like a vault, and that's like what most of my ledgers are like various vaults. Some of them are the same wallet within the same seed phrase. Most of them are separate seed phrases and private keys. And then I have like, a bunch of hot wallets that I use for like various functions, like minting, buys, sells. Um, on my phone is different than like in my browser, stuff like that. So I'm like quite separate in that regard. And I also just like don't like drawing attention to myself. I also don't wear jewelry. like like my girlfriend talked about, like if if we were to get married, like would I want to wear a wedding ring? And like, probably I would, but like, do I really like it? So I don't
Yeah.
wear earrings. I don't like, I'm like super minimalist. Like I like don't like stuff touching my skin. So I'm like very biased in that regard. But I I wouldn't wear it around my chin. Like I don't like wearing flashy clothes. I don't like bringing attention to myself. Even if I was like the world's like richest person, like I wouldn't want to do anything to make me like stand out. Maybe it's like my like Mennonite background or something. Like I don't really know what it is, but like that's just my like personal take on it. But I think it is cool what's being done there. I think people using ledgers as a fashion accessory is really cool, right? You saw Snoop Dogg do that recently. Drake wore one in his music video. There's been a number of other ones about that. So like Chris Carlson, who was my boss and who's a director of product at Ledger, he wears the chain around his neck all the time. And a lot of people at Ledger do wear theirs around their neck. And, if you have a sick nano, like if I'm going to a Deadfalls event, I'd love to wear this around my neck. I think it's really cool if it was me. I think like it's a personal choice. And I think same thing that I like about NFTs is the same thing I like about hardware wallets, just like a physical manifestation of it. But it's going to be interesting what the future looks like as well. Like there's Ledger extension, which you can get for your phone. You can get it for Chrome, Safari, and iOS, Android, and you can easily do that. To like, I've actually minted NFTs on the go from one of my ledgers before, and it's a really smooth experience. So maybe having that around your neck is kind of practical the same way you don't leave your house without your keys and wallet.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Yeah, so in our earlier conversation, we were just like talking about not only like it allows people to make a fashion statement out of Ledger's product, but perhaps the innate controversy surrounding this is a stroke of genius on the part of Ledger's marketing department, because people are obviously spending endless amount of time discussing this, debating this, and that's only bringing more attention to Ledger, which is always good. Eric, did you want to chime in just now?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, for the most part, I think Will's response was more, I guess, aligned with Victor's conservative response. If you had the chance to listen to that podcast me and Victor did, we spent about 50 minutes kind of debating on whether this is good or bad. For the most part, I was on the side of yes, it's cool, right? Because when me and Victor were working together in the same office, I would wear the ledger on my neck and he would always give me shit about it. So I was on the side of, hey, I mean, this is part of the crypto culture, right? This is crypto kind of making its way into the whole accessories space and into the physical space. And Victor was just calling me an idiot. He was saying how like, oh, well, you can get robbed and, you can get jumped. And I'm just like, you know what? Whatever. I want to be crypto. I want to be crypto cool.
Haters gonna hate. For me, I say it's not for me, but I think it is for a lot of people. So I appreciate you rocking it, Eric.
I mean, of course, like I told Victor this as well, right? I'm not gonna wear it. I'm not gonna like go to the Bronx at nighttime and wear it around my neck, right? So, with anything, with any kind of, I guess, flashy kind of things that you have, whether it be a watch or a car, you should always be mindful as to place, time, and people you're with. So,
definitely. Yeah. So part two of my question, I sort of wanted to touch on something that was mentioned earlier in your conversation, and that is Ledger's social recovery feature. And so I know it's kind of like beating a dead horse at this point, but we never got the chance to talk to a ex-Ledger employee about this, and I think it would be sort of insightful as to what you thought about the whole thing. So obviously we're not gonna like cover all the technical aspect of it because I think enough people did. Just wanted to sort of get the feel, like what was the general expectation for the rollout of this feature at Ledger? Did you guys expect it was going to blow up to this big kerfuffle that it became, or did you sort of expect that people would see a practical use case for it and see how it can mitigate a lot of the frustrating issues around user errors and like losing their seed phrases, that kind of stuff? Just what were you guys expecting going into this, right?
Yeah. So I'll kind of, I guess, start with the context of like why the product was made, just because I think like just to make sure that like everyone's on the same page about that. So like Ledger is a company that makes hardware wallets. Hardware wallets are kind of for like a pro user group, and it's all about your seed phrase. And in the future, I don't know if there will be seed phrases. I don't know what exactly the space will look like, but it probably won't be this like technical thing that you like kind of need to know what you're doing. Like having a private key and having a seed phrase, like I don't care like what anyone says, like it's kind of a level of complexity. And like Ledger Recover was a step towards getting a ledger, setting up a wallet, and never writing down your 24 words, because it will have recovery built in. Now there's like 1,000 solutions that could have been looked at for that, whether it's like social recovery, whether it's like multi-sig, whether it's like MPC. Like there's 1,000 solutions that could be looked at, and Ledger, I think, picked a solution that worked well for Ledger. So Ledger was looking into the future, and this was a great product for them. Someone that owns like $2 million worth of BTC. First off, they shouldn't be using a single ledger. Probably for that, they should be using like Ledger Enterprise or another solution. But someone who has like $5,000 in crypto, I think it's a great solution for them. Also, say a Ledger wallet is not a good start for a crypto user either. Like if you're buying like $20 worth of like, I don't know, like some like shit coin, or you're buying like $100 worth of ETH, and you're buying like one NFT for like $5, like don't buy a hardware wallet to start with. You need to like think about once you get to a certain point that you do that, right? So that's kind of like the genesis of the product, was really Ledger thinking about who are the next billion users, what does the future look like, and I think that's great. Now there's the rollout part of it. Now, actually, a very personal and interesting story around this. So, working at Ledger, I'm on the beta releases of the software. You can actually kind of use the betas even if you don't work at Ledger, but yeah, so I was always kind of like a few versions ahead. And whenever Ledger Live does an update, particularly in desktop, you always see the release notes. And I was on a version of the software that was going to be released the next day. And I saw in the release notes that it mentioned the introduction of Ledger Recover. And I thought right away, I was like, shit, like I have not seen any documentation around Ledger Recover. I know Ian had mentioned it on a couple of podcasts. I think Pascal mentioned it, but it wasn't like formally introduced. And like, I know how the internet works. In particular, I know how the crypto space works. And it's like, if you just put something out there and you don't clearly say what it is yourself, and you don't control the narrative, someone's going to make the narrative for you. And of course, the next day, Thread guy is, ripping all day on Twitter, and, we were the talk of the town forever, and not really in a good way. Like when FTX fell apart, Ledger did really well because, yes, the crypto space was going to ship, but it was like, we've been telling you guys self-custody since day one, right? So this was a scenario where it wasn't really good. And unfortunately, it wasn't good because the narrative of the product itself wasn't actually the issue. It was exposing that really like how Ledger works, and it's as secure as it's going to be, right? And like obviously, the private key does need to be touched at times. Like that's how you build transactions, at the end of the day. So basically, what I did is when I saw these release notes, and this was the day before it got released. Basically, we have a channel that's like the equivalent of General, and I posted a screenshot, and I said, "Hey, I just saw the release notes for this version of Ledger Live, or it was a firmware update for the Nano. Actually, sorry, it was a firmware update for the Nano." Which I was also on a pre-release version of. And I said, like, have we explained this anywhere online? Like, where's the announcement? Where's the documentation around this? Like, what is happening here? Like, we really need to like explain this to you. Like, I put my arms up, and like everyone on the team was like, no, all is good, all is good. And then the next day, like Ledger's based in Europe, so a lot of their products get rolled out in European time, which I guess for you folks is also, you're seeing it during your day. But like I wake up in the morning. Ledger was really good with me. I didn't wake up at like 6 in the morning to work, but I would wake up at like 7 a.m. and start checking my messages and whatnot, because I'm a morning guy. And Twitter's already blowing up, and I'm just like, this is exactly what I posted about yesterday, and everyone told me it's okay. So my gut, the day before told me like something is really going to go wrong here, but everyone told me everything's going to be okay. It's not my product. This is like so far away from the part of the business I work on. Like, I need to like gut check myself. Maybe my intuition's wrong on this. And then that happened the next day, and it's like, okay, everything I was feeling in that moment is right. But I'm not Pascal. I don't run Ledger. you know, this is not like my company at the end of the day. So, you know, I said something and left. But yeah, it's pretty crazy what happened there. Cause I actually tested Ledger Recover, and I have a nano that they gave out. I think this is mirrored, but it says I tested Ledger Recover on it. So there's a few of these floating around. So yeah, I've been testing out the product, and I think it's a great product, and it's just unfortunate that it got, you know, released the way it does. The good news is everyone who was probably complaining about it on Twitter isn't someone who's going to use the product anyway. And by the time that like the users need to use this product, it'll be fine. So water under the bridge, but I think yeah, it's a good like lesson for Ledger to learn, and for it to happen like during kind of a bear market, I think is fine. That way, stronger products are released during, you know, a bull market.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you for that insight. Yeah, definitely. I think yeah, like you mentioned, the silver lining is that this happened during a, you know, bear market. So no harm, no foul, right?
Exactly.
Like internally at Ledger, like during development of Recover, like how many did anyone anticipate that it would receive such I guess harsh backlash from like on publicly? Or
I think there were concerns. I think within Ledger, it's like the crypto space. We have, you know, if you're talking to like a smart contract engineer that works in what's called the dungeon at Ledger, which is kind of like the security team, like they're going to tell you, why would you release anything? Kind of like anything you release is a security risk, right? And then if you talk to someone from like the marketing and sales team, they're going to tell you like, oh, we should maybe even do a custodial solution, right? Like there's kind of like the full spectrum within the company, and it's a large company. It was like over 1,000 people when I was there, and you know, I think that everyone knew there was some risk, but ultimately, if they had just controlled the narrative differently, people wouldn't have focused on how the keys were actually exposed and managed, and how the firmware software layer worked. And it's interesting, actually, you know, a lot of critics of Ledger complain that the various parts of the software weren't open source. And when it comes to building hardware, I guess as you guys would know, you actually can't really open source a lot of things and sell it as like a pre-bundled solution. Like there are a lot of hardware wallet solutions out there where it is open source and you can like make the solutions yourself, but you like pretty much have to be a software developer to do that. So I think that, you know, what ended up happening out of it, of open sourcing more parts of the platform, like was a good thing. But it does kind of suck for Ledger that they have to shift their focus and do that now. Once again, in a bear market, it's not a bad time to need to do this. It needed to be done anyway. But yeah, I think it was just like loss of control over the narrative, and no one actually focused on the product itself. And we were ready to ship the product right away. And I haven't checked in a while, but I don't think the product is live even today yet. So um, yeah, it's kind of like too bad in some regards.
now I want to shift focus to another topic. I believe saw this on your Twitter. It is regarding recently somebody notable on Twitter had their NFTs stolen from their wallet, and based on your tweets, you were somehow able to kind of resurrect that for him. So I don't want to kind of I guess miscommunicate the details, but yeah, if you want to chime in on that, I believe the person that you were assisting on this was by the name of Fred Wilson. So yeah, I guess kind of give the backstory on that, and then it's also very aligned with what you said before about having, I guess, more security protocols in place for engaging with NFT platforms or just NFTs in general.
Yeah. So, you know, I feel we wake up like every day and there's like, you know, some notable person has gotten like rugged, so to speak, right? Like Mark Cuban was the victim this past week. You know, Kevin Rose, you know, like big tech guy, like Dig, you know, the Moonbirds community. He signed a bad transaction and got, you know, his wallet drained. I'm sure there's like 1,000 examples that I've, you know, missed in the process here, but yeah, it actually happened to me. So you know, I have a lot of like bids that are on Blur for NFTs, and they're, you know, pretty low bids. They're just like communities that I would like to be part of, and I don't have any shame in it. But I put in really low bids, and it's like, you know, if they execute at some point, I join them great. If I don't, it's all good. And one of them was the Bright Moments DAO that I wanted to join. I think a lot of the art they put out is really great, and I also love the Crypto Citizens PFP project, which is kind of like the access to it. So I mean, I probably had a bid on this collection for like 3-4 months. I priced it out. I was like, okay, here's a point that I'm comfortable at. I think it was like 0.19 ETH. And I have a different wallet that I use for Blur. So I never actually know really when I buy an NFT. I like check this wallet, I just wake up one morning and remember, oh yeah, I should probably, check if I have any NFTs. And in this case here, I didn't even check my wallet because I've been traveling and on vacation a lot actually since working at Ledger. And I check my message requests, and this guy from USV or Union Square Ventures, Nikhil, I believe was his name, reaches out to me. He's like, "Hey, I'm working on behalf of Fred Wilson. The NFT that you've just bought, this Crypto Citizen, was actually stolen from him." So I like dig into it more, and I'm like, Fred Wilson, like that name sounds like really familiar. And yeah, he's the founder of Union Square Ventures, so he's probably worth hundreds of millions of dollars. And yeah, he unfortunately fell victim to a scam. So right away, I'm not going to be someone that says like I have a stolen NFT and I'm going to like, this probably was worth, it was like Crypto Citizen London #4. It was like IRL minting that was done. Like Fred got it himself, so there was a lot of personal sentiment towards it. So like I knew I was going to give it back right away because that's what I would hope someone would do for me as well. And it was really a great process to speak to him during it. Fred's a very busy guy. He's like Elon Musk and whatnot. He organizes his life in like 15-minute increments. And yeah, I got to chat with him about his involvement in Bright Moments at the beginning, and him personally knowing Seth, who started Bright Moments, and the NFT itself, and some career advice and just talking shop on Web3. So for me, it was all worth it. His time is like invaluable, but the security aspect of it is also kind of interesting. So Fred was an investor in Bright Moments. He was also an investor in Coinbase. So he seems to like Coinbase products quite a bit. So I don't think he has a ledger. I think he uses Coinbase wallet for everything. And he was also playing around with their on-chain summer initiatives that Jesse and the team at Base are rolling out. So I guess he had just gotten off like a long haul flight. He's kind of like tired. He's on his phone, and there's a wallet messaging that you can use now. And I've always loved the prospect of wallet messaging because, like, I think crypto solved the payments layer being built into the internet, but I think it didn't solve the communications layer being built into the internet. I think like Web 1 and Web 2 actually did a better job at that. Like in the future, I'm sure this won't be a problem, but for now, it's a bit of a problem. So I was like, oh, wallet messaging is interesting, but I see it being potentially really bad for scams. And sure enough, Fred had like all of his on-chain summer messages that had been sent to him, and like 4 of them were good, 1 of them was bad, and unfortunately he clicked a bad one. And basically he signed set approval for all for the Bright Moments collection, and unfortunately this single smart contract is used for all of the NFTs that Bright Moments does. Basically, it's similar to the Art Blocks engine. So they drained him of like all of these beautiful pieces done by just beautiful artists, and I think he's recovering quite a few of them. But yeah, it's really bad to see that. And being like the security lens that I'm in, I went on like revoke.cash and entered his address just to see what type of like approvals and transactions he's done. And from his single wallet, that is like his wallet address linked to his fredwilson.eth ENS, he's minted dozens and dozens of NFTs. He's done set approval for all on like every collection under the sun. He's never really sold, thankfully. He's mainly just done like buying, minting, transferring, etc. But it's like to see someone that is like this type of like prominence in the space using a practice like that just shows that like by default we are not secure. By default, people really don't know what a best practice is. And luckily Fred's a connected guy, and I didn't need to give him the security spiel. He had people closer to him that had done that, and he has a vault wallet set up now, and he has a few hot wallets for different interactions. But yeah, I think it's like a huge wake up call in this space where it's like, if like, like if Mark Cuban, if like Kevin Rose can't like get their shit together on a security level, like how are we ever going to move forward in this space? It's like kind of one of those moments where it's bad, so it was interesting to be part of that like firsthand. But yeah, hopefully these stories can be like shared a bit more. And Fred was a real professional throughout it, and I'm glad that they were able to find me as well, and then it didn't go to someone else that wouldn't give it back to him. Yeah, the analogy I use here is similar to like, if I had a bank account with like $1 million in it, and I went on a trip to like Mexico, for example, it's an arbitrary country that I've chosen here, would I put like my or like a random ATM here in Montreal, would I put this bank account that's tied to like my $1 million checking account like into any ATM to pull out $10? Like probably not. Like people should have this in their head already, not Web3 related, and it seems like there's just a lot of like carelessness and like not thinking in the space. And I think it like boils down to like FOMO. Like people see like a lot of like immediacy around a lot of things, and I think that this like energy creates a sense of you just need to like take a step back. Like for me, whenever I want to like buy something expensive, whether it's crypto or non-crypto related, it's like, okay, I'm gonna pause, I'm gonna wait like 24 hours, I'm gonna like take even just like a minute before I like do this thing. And I think that's like kind of a practice that needs to happen more in the space.
Well, that's an awesome story. I'm sure I guess just having that experience and that impact that you made with Fred Wilson, I'm sure he'll be a super useful asset in your network for your career going forwards.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so on the last question, to kind of also kind of go along with the whole career aspect, why did you leave Ledger, and what are you doing right now? And if you can answer this question
Uh,
within 4 minutes, that'll be good.
yeah, I'll try to be quick. Yeah, so yeah, basically I was a contractor at Ledger. They were looking for like specific talent for NFT marketplaces. They didn't have this talent already inside of Ledger. And ultimately we had built the products and features needed. So my contract came to an end in June at Ledger, as they've made like various cuts to staffing throughout the year. So that's ultimately what led to me leaving Ledger. The timing on it was pretty good. I had a basically a summer of almost all July and August not working already laid up. So I did a Atlantic Canada road trip with my girlfriend. We drove like 7,000 kilometers. I was in the south of France for 3 weeks in August. So like really was nice to detox there. I was off Twitter for like a month. It was really busy building at Ledger, especially in Q4. Like when we announced stacks, it was like 70, 80-hour weeks. We were launching like almost a collection every week. It was really busy. So it was really nice to kind of, chill out and just take a step back. Since then, I've been just doing small consulting and advising roles here and there, mainly within Ethereum, also some alt L1s, some dApps, NFT projects, wallets. Thinking about maybe some potential projects I want to start myself. So I've been meeting with a number of people actually here in Montreal as well as virtually. And yeah, maybe open to some future positions as well. But yeah, TBD for what's next still.
Nice. Well, if there's any employers out there listening in, here is your guy, Wil Schmor, product marketing connoisseur. Well, yep. Yeah, so we've already touched on a lot of questions, and it looks like time is about to run up soon. So yeah, on behalf of Victor and I, thank you again, Wil, for joining us on the 256 podcast. And yeah, it was very awesome to hear your story, and also the stories that you had at Ledger. So
Yeah, thank you, Eric, and thank you, Victor. It was great to talk with you guys, and absolutely love your podcast, and going to be a fan for a long time here on my side as well.
nice. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel.
Like and subscribe, 100%.
Yes. Okay. And signing off. So I will
Thank you.
stop the recording.